to Monkey Off My Backlog, the podcast where we exercise our pop culture demons by tackling our media to-do list 1 week at a time. I'm your host, Andy Bowman, and with me are my co-hosts, Sam Morris.
Hello.
And Tessa Suella.
Hello.
This week, Sam moves to West Covina, but not for Josh. Tessa will make hot dogs out of pork chops, and I bend my emotions into anger.
Ooh.
So, this week's discussion question. We got something here, something I kind of thought of. Do you guys have any kind of method to your madness when you're dealing with your lists? For example, me, I like to tackle either very short things or very long things first.
Okay, so here's my answer. I make the list, and then I make the list, and then I add to the list.
Yeah.
Is that the end of your process?
That is the end of the process.
Is the process a circle?
It is a closed loop. Much like your time travel discussion from last week, a closed loop. Yes.
An A to B loop.
Yes.
I am very not methodical about how I check things off of my list, mainly because, as I've mentioned before, I haven't really had unified lists for a long time. It's been more like tiny little scraps of lists scattered across various social media and physical pieces of paper. I generally go with what I feel like doing at the time. So if I'm having like a really bad week, I might choose something that's a little bit lighter or a little bit shorter. Or if I'm having like a week where I feel like, oh, I'm going to sit down and watch The Outsider. You know, I have to be really in the mood to watch something like that. So it kind of just goes with what I think I can handle and what I think is good for me that week. That's a good way of saying it. What's good for me this week?
Okay, but here's the thing that I want to say about that. So Tessa, when she really enjoys a piece of pop culture, she is like like in Fargo, there's a famous scene where a body is fed into a wood chipper. So Tessa's the wood chipper, and the body is pop culture. She just destroys it. How many episodes of Steven Universe have you watched this week?
Oh, I mean, I don't have a specific number, but
Hold on, wait a minute. It is, I believe we are close. It's 90-something.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's got to be almost around 90, almost 100.
Yeah, and given those episodes are shorter than Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, but as I was watching, as I was faced with finishing it, it came to a point where I had to watch 3 episodes in a day, and I almost ran out of the house screaming because I can't do that. So Andy, how can you do the binge? Can you do the binge?
Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't. It's so for me, I have this thing where I kind of view my life as breaks between big events, right? I always think of like, oh, well, I got a trip coming up, or, oh, I've got a paper coming up, or, oh, I've got this. And between that is a smorgasbord of whatever I can fit into that time period. And I really want to like make sure that the thing is finished before the next thing begins, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that I watch all of a thing, or I play all of a thing, or I read an entirety of a thing before my next like section to do classwork begins. So for me, I'll like look at things and be like, okay, I could watch The Irishman, but The Irishman is also worth 3 90-minute movies or 2 2-hour movies, right? So
or a root canal.
Right. There's this like calculus that goes on. And Sam, we talked a little bit after the episode last week where I revealed to you one of my great tools in howlongtobeat.com. This is a website that is socially driven that'll describe about how long it takes to beat a game. I have gone through games that I have next to no feeling or desire to play because I know that that'll be 2 hours long, and that'll be like one session that I can finish before the week's over, and it's done.
Doesn't it start to feel like homework, though, when you do that?
Yes, it does. But I have a list. I need to get through this list.
I see. So the satisfaction you get from crossing it off the list negates the homework feeling.
I wouldn't even say it's satisfaction, just more of completion, right? There, there, there are many times where
this is turning into a different kind of podcast.
yeah. This is a mental health podcast now. I will. There are times where I'm just like, no, I'm good. I don't need to experience this. But sometimes I will just pick something. It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just like, man, I really don't feel like playing this, but it is only this. I'm just gonna make myself do it.
I will say, I think the binging attitude comes more from the opposite feeling of what you're describing. When something makes you really happy and you just sort of you don't want to let that feeling go. I definitely got it with Buffy the first time that I watched it. I've gotten that with a couple of different shows, and it's such a great feeling. The problem is if you binge it, it goes by really fast. So you have to sort of balance it out. I will say too that I've been watching X-Files for the first time. I've mentioned that on this podcast, and Sam is making me watch them one night a week. I watch 2 episodes one night a week, and I like what I've seen so far. Like if I could, I probably would start binging it. But I actually kind of appreciate the restraint that this arrangement has set up, because it sort of gives me this weekly thing to look forward to. Like, that I'm going to watch 2 episodes of the X-Files. It's going to be great. And sometimes it ends on a cliffhanger. And I had forgotten what it felt like to be like, oh, I can't figure this out until next week.
And the thing about the X-Files is let's say 14 or 15 months from now, you'll be like, I don't need to watch it this week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's good to kind of experiment with different ways of viewing things, I think, because I think some things lend themselves to binging, other things perhaps don't.
Right. And for you listeners out there, this is the week of the Steam sale, which means my video game list has now grown quite a lot for very, very little money, and that's a problem for me. But what about you? Do you have any tools or ways of tackling your to-do lists? I would love to hear it, so you should definitely tweet us at Monkey Backlog.
Help us become more functional people at list crossing off.
Yes, and for me, help somebody who did not grow up in the age of streaming and binging to figure this out.
Yeah. All right, so Sam.
Yes.
What did you do this week?
I finally watched season 1 of Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Okay. Now, that sounds like a pretty misogynistic show.
The title is not encouraging. Go on.
Yeah, it's definitely the cougar town of the CW, I'd say.
Now, I will say that what I always tell people with Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, because it is a fantastic show, is watch the opening. You will understand the second you watch a 2-minute opening. And it has a great little theme song.
It is. It's a great theme song.
He's only been singing it around the house all week.
Yeah. So, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is a TV show that aired on the CW from 2015 to 2019. It just wrapped up last year. It was co-created by Rachel Bloom, who is the star of the show. She plays Rebecca Bunch. She co-created it along with Aileen Brosh McKenna. And the two of them, along with Adam Schlesinger, composed the songs for the show.
Who is Adam Schlesinger?
Well, Adam Schlesinger is a great, wonderful person and musician who we lost to COVID-19 earlier this year. He was the lead songwriter in Fountains of Wayne. So if you've heard any song by Adam Schlesinger, you've probably heard Stacy's Mom. Or maybe you heard That Thing You Do, the song from the movie of the same name, directed by Tom Hanks. It's less likely that you heard his kind of art rock band, Ivy. They do a really great cover of The Cure's Let's Go to Bed, among other things. But yeah, he was a super talented musician.
Okay. Now, why did it take you so long to experience Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
So Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is about a woman who was a lawyer in New York, and is super unhappy with her life choices. You know, she did the thing where she went to the Ivy League school, went to the other Ivy League school for law school, got a job at a giant firm, prestigious, was about to become partner, blah, blah, blah. But for a couple of important reasons was very unhappy and met this on the street after she has a freak out and runs out of the office, meets this guy that she had a thing with at summer camp years and years ago named Josh. And Josh is about to leave New York and go back to West Covina, California. And he just talks about how great it is and how much he loves it. And she realizes that she needs a change. So she quits her job and moves to West Covina. Not for Josh. And so, you know, as somebody who's always wanted to go to California, has been trying for many, many years unsuccessfully to go to California, I feel this thing. She also is dealing with mental illness. It's there. It's very clearly there. Season 1 does not address it in a meaningful way. I understand that it does in subsequent seasons. So what I'm trying to tell you is, if you know any of these things about the show, you should have been like, how have you not seen this yet? Why didn't you watch it? And I don't know why. I do know why. I know why I didn't watch it. Here's my confession. I don't really like musicals. I know, you're all shocked.
We're speechless.
They're
so
speechless.
Surprised.
If you could see Andy's face right now.
No, Sam, I will just go ahead and tell you, I'm not exactly a giant musical fan myself. Most of the time I find it kind of, man, it sounds so pompous. I find it kind of trite and weird that, oh, these people are expressing themselves all through song and dance. It's weird. And I think this show does a great job of explaining why they're doing it, how they're doing it.
It is explained in a very particular episode.
Yeah, I really like it, and this show has the best thing a show can have for me, which is really, really dark comedy.
Mm-hmm. I mean, everything about it is pretty great. And, you know, the reason that I don't like musicals is slightly different from yours. I really appreciate spontaneous breaking out in song and dance. I feel like the world would be a better place. I feel like there wouldn't be as many terrible things in this world if that happened.
If people could actually express their emotions.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. It feels... So there's an episode where we get a flashback to Rebecca's college days for a senior thesis project. Somebody puts on Moby Dick the musical. And that's it.
Which is a great musical idea.
That's why I don't like musicals.
Because of Moby Dick the musical?
Yep, that's it. Because hey guys, are you excited for Hamilton tomorrow?
I am.
I'm super excited. I can't wait. See, I like some musicals. I like the idea of some musicals. I'm super excited to see this one. But, you know, like it's a hard sell for me.
Did you like Rent?
It was okay. It was good. It was good.
Now, one thing I want to point out about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend is this is not a jukebox musical, which I really love.
Glee, this is not.
Yeah. All these songs are original to the show, and some of them are either very specific parodies or kind of just style parodies.
So let me give you a list. Let me give you a list of some of the best songs from season 1.
Okay, that's what I was about to ask you.
All right. So there's a really good song early on in the series called West Covina that really pretty much gives you the whole idiom of the series and tells you what's so great about Southern California. I did not need to be told that. Rachel Bloom, I found out, is from Southern California, so anytime there's a pro-Southern California song, she just leans into it, and I think that's great. There are songs called I'm a Good Person.
I actually saw the tail end of that one. It was disturbing.
California Christmas Time is another one of my favorites. Text Emergency, which is such a such a great song, featuring she was Good News, right? Great News. The lead actor from Great News is in that episode. But the really big ones in season 1 that people seem to talk about the most are the songs "You Stupid Bitch," which is it's a song about self-loathing. It comes at Rebecca's low point in season 1, and what's great about it is that it hits a lot of things about mental illness and issues of self-worth so accurately, and it's also somehow funny. It's not played for laughs, but the laughs are there on purpose. And earlier in the episode, we got the Texmergency song. So, like, I cried twice during that episode. One, because I was laughing so hard, and then later at the end, because, like, I had been destroyed. You contrast that with the other song highlight of the season, which is a song called Gettin' By, which is a song, Adam Schlesinger has talked about it, and so a character comes out as bisexual, and so Adam Schlesinger really wanted to hit as hard as possible the idea that bisexual is a thing. It's real. It's not just you're playing around or just go the full gay, as he says in the song. It's an anthem to a very real thing, and it's handled with care, and the lyrics are well written, and it sounds like a Huey Lewis in the News song.
Okay. So I actually have two songs that I really, really, really liked from the first season. I haven't seen any of season 2 on, but the two that I particularly loved were "I Gave You a UTI," which was just a bopper.
That was a good one. I saw that one today. It
Yeah.
was great.
And "I Could Have, I Wanted To."
That's on my list. Look,
Now,
it's on my list.
Yeah,
It's on the
that is
list.
the last
Checks
song on
out.
the
It's on
list.
the list.
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually, the last song on the list is Jap Battle, which I should clarify is Jewish American Princess Battle.
Yes.
How
Don't
did this show
don't
get
just
on
say
TV?
that.
By the way, this show was originally made for Showtime, and they passed on it. I feel like that's a very important detail.
Yes, but I could have. You can probably figure out who my favorite character is just from those two favorite songs, but
Are you a Greg?
maybe.
Wow.
Anyway, these songs are all very high quality, like surprisingly high quality for the fact that they are all original.
Yeah.
Adam Schlesinger, man, was a genius.
Okay, so do you recommend Crazy Ex-Girlfriend to people?
I absolutely recommend it. I recommend it for all the reasons we've talked about. I think it's important to mention we haven't even talked about Josh yet. And I think it's sad. Josh Chan is such a great character. He just pays off all the time.
I think my wife described him once as the definition of bless your heart.
He is so great, though. But the supporting characters are great too. Paula, Daryl, the boss. Valencia is just horrible. The other Josh, who they all who they all refer to lovingly as White Josh.
They also say something along the lines of, "Why don't you call him Gay Josh?"
Oh, that just seems reductive.
Yeah.
So the last thing I'll say on that is absolutely recommend. This is one of those situations where the first half of the season was a bit of a struggle for me. I started watching it a couple of days after Adam Schlesinger died, which was a few months ago, and I stalled out for a little bit. I liked the show, I liked the concept, but it wasn't tracking with me yet. Episode 11. That text was not meant for Josh. That is the episode. That is the episode with the song, and I'll say it one more time. You Stupid Bitch, which Vulture says is the #1 best song of all of the Crazy Ex-Girlfriend songs. NPR has it at number 7. They're wrong, but that's where that appears. It appears at the end of that episode. If you need to direct your attention to a particular episode because you don't want to give it 11 episodes or give it a whole season, watch that one. If it doesn't work for you, I don't know what will.
I also do want to just comment on the one gag I love about the show is that she's always claiming she's not obsessed with Josh, but every episode title has Josh in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love that as like a meta joke. I don't know. It just makes me laugh when I think about just how many times it's always brought back to Josh.
And you know, I really like there's just so many good things about this show. Josh is a really good person.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be obsessed over somebody, you could pick a lot worse.
And
That's all I'm saying.
The show is not very nice, not very like forgiving of Rachel Bloom's characters not being a good person.
Again, the I'm a good... I'll direct you to what I saw of the I'm a good person song.
Speaking of good people, tell us about Steven and the Crystal Gems.
So I watched Steven Universe, and as I was saying to Andy and Sam before we started recording, I only meant to watch the first season of Steven Universe to prepare for this podcast. I ended up watching 2.5 seasons. The first season has 52 episodes in it, so that will tell you something about... They are only 12-minute episodes, but that will tell you something about how obsessed I got with this particular show, and still am in a lot of ways. I might watch even more of it tonight. But I've been watching Steven Universe, which is an animated show on Cartoon Network. It ran from 2013 to 2020. It actually just wrapped up in March. I think it actually ended, and then there was a movie, and then there was like a limited series that wrapped up everything. I haven't gotten there yet, so I think that's how it works. This was recommended to me by one of my advisors in grad school after I defended my thesis. She specifically said, you need to watch this show because there's this, it's centered around a male character who's wielding female power, which I thought was a really, really interesting premise for a show, but then I promptly forgot about it and just didn't think about it for a while. But then it came up again recently, and I was like, that's been on my list for a while. I should give it a try. We'll see how it goes. I can also sing the entire theme, just like Sam can sing Crazy Ex-Girlfriend. I've been torturing Sam by singing it around the house. And by torture, I mean he actually asks me to sing it around the house occasionally. That's sort of why I've started watching this show, because I've had a couple of people introduce me or recommend it to me. So Steven Universe was developed by Rebecca Sugar, who is an Adventure Time alumnus. Like I said, it was on Cartoon Network. And she developed it centered around a young preteen boy named Steven, who is voiced by Zach Callison, who lives in a beach town with the Crystal Gems, who are an all-female trio of powerful alien personifications of magical gemstones. And that was actually the only way that I could describe what they are. I actually sat down and tried to summarize what they were in a sentence, and it was very, very difficult. But basically, there's 3 of them in the first season, and they are an alien race who are literally magical gemstones that just personify bodies. And it's such a weird premise and such a fantastical premise, but Rebecca Sugar handles it so well. Like, the world building here is just so well done, and you don't really feel like you're missing out on anything in the beginning of this world building, even though the premise is so strange. Steven is actually based on Rebecca Sugar's brother. She actually based the character on him. His name is also Steven, and he was an artist on the show as well. I found that to be a really interesting...
That's interesting.
It was a really interesting little tidbit of trivia on this.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about these crystal gems.
Yeah, so there's character development from the first episode does not feel like a pilot. I actually I had to stop it and look at the episode order because I thought maybe I had started in the middle of the season. It's very slice of life type of episode. But you are introduced to Steven and the crystal gems. So you have Garnet, who is voiced by Estelle. You have Amethyst, who is voiced by Michaela Diaz, and Pearl, who is voiced by Dee Dee Magno-Hall, which Sam introduced me to some of Dee Dee Magno-Hall's other earlier work after he realized that's who voiced her.
So she is a Mickey Mouse Club alum. So you may be familiar with Mickey Mouse Club alumna, including Britney Spears.
And Christina.
Yeah. And one of the Ryans, not Ryan Reynolds, Ryan Gosling. Dee Dee Magno was on the show before them. They had a group called The Party, and it was great. It was great fun if you were a preteen like me at the time. But without her, you'd have no Timberlake.
There'd be no Timberlake
no
without her.
Christina.
All right. So that was a really interesting watching some of those older music videos. So they again, like they have the names of the gems that they sort of personify. So Pearl has like a pearl lodged in her forehead. Garnet has she has 2 gems, one on each hand, which is explained later. Amethyst has an actual amethyst in her chest. Steven is half human and half gem. So his mother was Rose Quartz, who fell in love with a human, and when she gave birth to Steven, she had to give up her physical form in order to have Steven. And that's sort of explored and teased out throughout the seasons. So Steven actually has a gem in his belly button. He has a rose quartz gem. And so a lot of the show is dedicated to him figuring out his powers, and also sort of trying to figure out how to navigate life, both in the gem world and in the human world as well. So some episodes are really gem-centric, gem-heavy. The 3 gems sort of act as a group of superheroes, protecting Earth, really, from different threats. And Steven also has adventures in the town itself, interacting with the very, very colorful townsfolk.
Yeah, so I watched a couple of these episodes with you because it's really addicting.
It is. I mean, it is very, very easy to watch 7 or 8 episodes of this show at a time.
It is super happy.
Yeah, there's a real optimism to this show. I mean, it is science fiction and it is fantasy, but Steven is just he's our vantage point into this very fantastical world, and he is such a loving and like empathetic, vulnerable character. Like he is always seeing the good in everything around him, but it doesn't come off as trite or cute or funny. It comes off as genuinely cared. He cares about things. Even like the monsters they fight, he's trying to figure out like a way to like save them or help them. And it's just this like really, really beautiful work. And so it's really interesting to sort of see the optimism of the show as told through the eyes of this like very, very beautiful child, in a lot of ways. And the gems themselves are distinct characters. Garnet's probably my favorite.
Because I'm a Pearl person myself.
He is definitely a Pearl person. But like the cool thing about the gems too is that they're not perfect. I think sometimes in these shows about children, we get the child who messes up all the time, and then the adults have to kind of come in and teach them a lesson. And that happens sometimes with Steven. Like, he does mess up, and he does learn from the people around him. He's constantly learning from the people around him. But the gems mess up too. Like, sometimes they get into fights, sometimes they say the wrong thing, or they hurt other people's feelings. They don't understand humans as well as they could. Sometimes the humans mess up, and Steven learns from that, but he also learns from the way that these adults in his life move on, how they learn, how they pick themselves back up and learn things as well. And I think that's actually very valuable in a kid's show, to kind of show that, you know, just because you're an adult doesn't mean you know all the answers, or that you don't, you know, sort of mess up as well.
So there's, I talked about Crazy Ex-Girlfriend earlier, so I've used all kinds of words today in this podcast, so I'm gonna go for it here. You have referred in your description of Steven Universe as the show having, and this is a direct quote from Tessa, big lesbian energy.
Oh, yes.
Could you talk about that a little bit?
And I mean that in the best way.
She does.
This show has so much lesbian energy in it, and it is so wonderful. Like, it just like warms your heart. Wonderful. The gems are an all-female society. Like, I thought that when my advisor was saying this is about sort of a man wielding a female-centric power, I thought maybe she was talking about like a smaller group or something like that, but this is a society that is all female, and they relate to each other, and they relate to the world, and they relate to their own bodies in ways that are very queer and very much not what we would think of as straight at all. And I don't want to go into a lot of detail because there's a lot of spoilers that it sort of goes into talking about how this works, because a lot of the world building is actually very lesbian as well. But they did win a GLAAD Media Award for this particular show, and I think that it actually the whole non-traditional family structure that Steven has, because he's really being parented by 3 gems and his father, who lives in the town, it enriches his life. It doesn't detract from it. He does have complex emotions around his mom. There are ongoing storylines about his mom, but his life is better because he has more parents in it. And so it's a really, really interesting take for a children's show, and it's done so well. It's done in a way that is very child friendly. If you object to sex in your cartoons, but it's done in a way that's just very beautiful and very loving, and it wants you to look at it, with love both for these characters and for yourself as well. So it's a really, really beautiful show in that way. And that isn't to say that there isn't conflict. There's a lot of conflict in this show. There are big emotional stakes in this show, but it definitely resolves everything in a way that makes you want to keep coming back.
It's funny thinking about the fact that I watched a show that is centered on a woman, and you describe Steven Universe as very big lesbian energy.
I don't know of any other way to say it. Like, it's just.
But it's nice seeing those stories that are told from maybe a different point of view than we're used to getting. We watched Ad Astra recently. Ask us about that later. I'm not going to ask if you recommend this because I know that you do. Here's what I'm going to ask. Is this show so good that our listeners should go out and subscribe to HBO Max immediately?
Yes? It's almost worth it just to watch this. I mean, don't watch Harry Potter again. We all know that that's terrible.
You get John Oliver too.
But I mean, you do get John Oliver too. But Steven Universe, very, very good. Would recommend.
And just to let people know, Steven Universe is also available on Hulu, so you can give it a try through that.
Oh, it is? Okay, good. So it might be easier to access for some people than through HBO Max, which is where I've been watching it. But yeah, no, the show, go watch it. They talk about race. They talk about class. Like, they somehow do all of these things, but just in such a beautiful way. All right, Andy.
Yes.
So we're going to go from, like, the most loving and wonderful and tender.
This is just a heartfelt episode with all good stuff.
Yeah, to what you watched this week.
Okay. Imagine if there was a live action version of Steven Universe, a show that you love, Tessa, a show that is great. And imagine if that movie was one of the worst examples of a film you've ever seen. I watched The Last Airbender.
The film.
I'm just now realizing you're not talking about the original cartoon. Oh no.
For years I have been told this is a bad movie. Don't watch it. For years. And I loved the show. Well, I decided, because it's on Netflix right now, and I just watched through all of The Last Airbender, because that's on Netflix too. Or I watched through all of Avatar, The Last Airbender, The Good Thing, The Good Thing. Big distinction. Yes, there's a big distinction here, because I will tell you, this movie is a masterwork in how to not adapt something and how to ruin everything that people love about the thing.
So why have you never seen this movie before? Like, you're such a big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? Which I am. I think all of us are. I mean, we've all seen it, right? So why have you not seen this movie?
Little tiny secret here. Me and a bunch of friends had tickets to the midnight showing 10 years ago. This is around the time that I discovered how much I like a certain liquid substance called beer.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
Long story short, I fell asleep on the couch and they left without me.
It sounds like you kind of.
So you won that night,
right? No,
you had a better
I did.
night than them.
I did. They later came back because I was under 22. Let's just say that I was under 22. It was 10 years ago, and I'm gonna turn 30 in a week. So you can do some math.
We'll let the listeners do the math on that.
Right.
It was it as big of a crime as what M. Night Shyamalan has done?
So you're like, I don't feel bad about that. M. Night Shyamalan should feel bad.
Well, it was the kind of thing where, like, your friends could still come over at like 3 a.m.
Gotcha.
And they're just like, don't watch this movie. It is as bad as everyone has warned me. It has a 9% on Rotten Tomatoes for a reason. This movie is bad. First of all,
so Andy, listen, you really got to start looking at Rotten Tomatoes before you watch the thing. I don't know if you know, that's how you're supposed to use it.
You're not supposed to look at it afterwards.
It's not. It doesn't help after.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
I always thought you go to Rotten Tomatoes after to be like, oh, was I right or wrong? Right? I like this movie.
Did people agree with me?
Schrodinger's tomato. That's what they would call it if they didn't want to.
Schrodinger's tomato.
Okay, so just really quick for people who don't know what Avatar: The Last Airbender is, it is a touching story of a young monk named Aang. Now, right there is actually where they go wrong in the movie. Because
you had one job!
The movie, literally, the entire show, they keep calling the character Aang. His name is Aang. Immediately you watch the movie, his name is Ong.
What?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes. They all pronunciations of all the characters are off in like this weird mirror version way, right? Yes, they are spelt the same way, but it is Ong and good old Uncle Iroh, which is Uncle Iroh in the show.
It's
right?
not even like this is a different interpretation of a word that I read. Like, this is a television show that had actual pronunciations in the show.
Right. Then you have you know, other main character Sokka, who they call Soka.
No, that's it. I'm out.
So this show is about a chosen hero who has a special power and his journey going through that power. And the movie covers the first season of the show. Everything that the movie does interprets and transposes themes and events from the show in the worst possible way. It is really like watching a weird mirror version, right? This is like someone described this to me this way: is like going down to breakfast with your family, but there's something different about their eyes. You don't know what's wrong, but nothing feels right. This movie gaslit me. Like, I was questioning the events of a show I just watched and loved. Everything about this show, this movie, the acting, the casting, which, by the way, whitewashing an entire like Asian cast, and there's an entire thing about that I don't even want to feel. I don't want to talk about because this movie is just bad, and it's a masterclass on being bad. It's a masterclass, which was also, here's the other thing, written, directed, cast. Every one of these roles was done by one man, and that is M. Night Shyamalan. Right? There is no reason. There's no one else to blame. It is all M. Night Shyamalan's fault, and they have some Oscar-nominated actors in this movie.
Who is in this movie? I have never watched it. I mean, I started it, but I rage quit after 5 minutes for some of the reasons that you have mentioned. But so I don't really know who's in this movie.
The big one is Dev Patel is in this movie. Dev Patel from Slumdog Millionaire is in this movie. He is playing one of the main characters, the only one whose name got properly translated as Prince Zuko.
That's terrible casting?
Okay.
Huh?
Yeah, that'd be all right.
It's not terrible casting.
No.
I'd watch that movie.
It's not.
Not this movie.
Well, no, not this movie.
But there's just so much wrong. It just feels off. It feels off constantly. I did not like this movie. I did not enjoy my time. But you know what? I am now certain that I could do a better job directing. This is such
when you get to that level.
Well, this is such an interesting use case because the first season of Avatar very clearly spells out a beautiful arc that could have been very easily adapted to film, and I am looking forward to the Netflix live actions version of Avatar whenever that actually ends up coming out.
So the movie made you want to see a better adaptation.
Absolutely. The movie made me want to see a better adaptation, and I'll probably just rewatch the show. Anyway, this movie was terrible. I can't recommend it to anybody, but I do recommend it to people who love Avatar because I need someone to share the anger with.
So you would if somebody already had Netflix, which I also wanna say that just because something's on Netflix doesn't mean you should watch it. But if you had to, would you recommend that somebody watch The Last Airbender or Floor is Lava?
The Last Airbender.
Okay.
Over Floor is Lava.
Wow. Well, it is bad.
Oh,
Floor is Lava is bad.
And here's the other beautiful reason. This movie is like an hour and 40 minutes long. It cost $150 million to make. It looks terrible. Some of the characters are nightmare fuel inducing.
Appa?
Appa
Please tell
is
me Appa.
terrifying.
Oh.
Appa's my favorite.
Terrifying. Which,
Is
for
Momo
those of
in
you
the
who have not
movie?
seen the show, Appa is a gigantic, adorable bison that they ride around, and he can fly, and he's awesome. But no, he has human teeth in this. It is just terrifying.
Is Momo in this movie?
Yes, Momo is in this movie, which is a flying lemur, and is also adorable. And finally, just a real quick thing I want to mention is that the actual art of bending, which is this world's magic system, which is people can do one element. You have air, earth, fire, and water. It is slow. It is the kind of slow that can only come from them trying to pad the movie. But it is also like there is no combat reason that you should bend instead of punch a guy in the face, right? like that is just, I cannot stress how bad this movie is.
That's what I want to see. I want to see a series where magic, it's like The Magicians, but like times 3. Where like magic is so inconvenient. It exists, but why would you use it?
So
I want that show.
So anyway, everyone tweet at me. Please watch this movie because it is something to behold. I can't in good faith recommend it to you, but it is one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
I feel like you should form a support group. Like, instead of telling people to watch it so they can join in your misery, like, trying to find the people who have already watched it. Like, so you guys can, like, no, it really was that bad. Like, no, the show really was that good.
Yeah. Anyway, tune in next week when Sam scrubs into Grey's Anatomy, Tessa seeks out a ghost in a shell, and I'll find out what's the deal with Rosebud and Citizen Kane. Where can people find you guys?
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Swela, SWEHLA, Tessa.
And I'm on Twitter at Sam_Morris9 and on Letterboxd at ArchieLeach9.
You can find me on Twitter and Letterboxd at Hebrews Pale Ale. Our theme song, Hot Shot by Scott Holmes, can be found at scottholmesmusic.com. Send us your thoughts about the monkeys we've talked about today, the monkeys you've crossed off your own list, the monkeys that you'd like to hear us talk about on future episodes, or anything else that comes to mind. Find us on Twitter at monkeybacklog. Email us at monkeyoffmybacklog@gmail.com. Please rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.